Alright, welcome to UUBL Tube. We're gonna be watching some Gen 3 UUBL tournament. It's a Discord tournament for fun, absolutely zero stakes, so we're gonna see some fun sets and some serious ones. I think you'll be able to parse out which one this one's gonna be, just based on who's playing. But I guess let's just get into it. I figured I would cover this tournament just because, I don't know, I want to do more videos. And so as you see, two Alakazams just tricked Lucky Punch onto each other, and so in this tournament there's like all of the RNG items are banned, like Focus Band, King's Rock, all that sort of stuff, and Lucky Punch is one of them, and so these two players decided to just disqualify this game. So not a lot to be talking about here, I guess. Just a lot of shenanigans going on. Ancient Power, Marowak, two Alakazams with Lucky Punch. I think I'll set all of these to fast just to get through all of them because there's a lot of games going on here. Slowbro is definitely a Melninja favorite. You see Toasty has the Trapinch. Not sure what's really going on here, kind of just floundering around, I guess. We'll see if she actually has a game plan against Slowbro. I'm gonna guess not, based on how she's playing, but I mean, yeah, in chat says cooked regardless. So, pretty quick game one. Yeah, pretty disastrous Slowbro matchup. That is one thing about Slowbro I've noticed, is that like it's one of the Pokemon in UUBL that just sort of, you know, is there, and it's kind of like Miltank was a while ago, where you don't really think of it in the builder, but sometimes it just shows up and you're like, well, I guess I lose now, because it just has such a unique type combination and offensive ability that like a lot of the UUBL Pokemon just aren't able to do very much to it. So that's one game. Like I said, they both brought Lucky Punch, so this game is disqualified, so we'll go on to the real game 2. And Slacking versus Quillfish. Slacking lead is definitely a strong force to be reckoned with. Melninja's switching to Wheezing means that Slacking is definitely going to get... Oh, actually has a Steelix as well, so never mind. I was about to say Slacking looks like it's going to get a lot of value this game, but just sacking off Wheezing instead of Steelix there was possibly just trying to avoid Earthquake on the Quillfish attack. It's looking like a lot more defensive of a team from Melninja, but that Regirock looks like it's, I mean, of course, depending on the set, looks like it might be pretty tricky for this team to get around. Melninja reveals Tentacruel. I really like Tentacruel in the tier. It's like probably the most, well, it's definitely one of the most offensive rapid spinners. Other one being like Armaldo, and I mean there's others, but Tentacruel just sort of like gets the job done in a way that the others kind of don't. And that's the problem with Umbreon that I've noticed a lot. Slacking critical hit. Jimmy says no one beats game 2 Mel. So true, so true. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Umbreon. It just gets hard-walled by so many Pokemon, and like, as you saw, it just got toxic by a poison type, so it just took that toxic for free and then substitute and got roared out before the wish could land on it. So, you know, like, that's a common theme for Umbreon, kind of, is inability to do much, and it's trying to set up, but there's just so many Pokemon that deny its own setup. So it looks like Jimmy's winning this one. Tentacruel Surf. We'll see if there's... Oh, Tentacruel has Protect, so maybe not. Protect on Tentacruel is definitely a... I haven't seen that before. It makes sense though. You want to preserve Tentacruel's health as long as possible, scout for choice bands. Especially with Weezing Steelix in the back, that's actually a pretty good combination there, like team style wise. I imagine that this team wouldn't, like, Melninja's team also lacks a lot of offensive pressure though, like Steelix and Tentacruel being your main breakers is kind of nuts, and Tentacruel only has Surf. Like, I guess Articuno has Ice Beam, but I mean, there's only so many Pokemon that Articuno can click that into, especially with all the bulky waters. So we'll see what Jimmy has in the back. Armaldo. Okay, yeah. It looks like it's over as long as Melninja can preserve this Tentacruel. If Jimmy had a Sword Stance, probably could have used that there with the Hanging Wish. Let's see, it might just be like Choice Band or something. Nope, Leftovers. And that's that. I think we can skip a few turns here. Protect Tox. Melninja wins game 2, but since the first one's disqualified, they're playing game 3 anyways. Raikou versus Smeargle. Raikou lead, pretty common. Smeargle can be in the lead, can be in the back. Usually it's in the back, but I mean, lead is fine. Like you saw, it can take a Thunderbolt from Raikou, so it can live quite a few hits. And Endeavor is gonna mess them up pretty bad here. Smeargle, I said like probably over a year ago now that like everyone just uses, you know, normal Spore Spike Smeargle, but Smeargle has so many other utility moves that are definitely going to be better than all the stuff that you usually see, and that's a pretty good point for that argument there is Endeavor Smeargle. You don't see, I mean, I don't see Smeargle too often, but when it does, it's usually up to something other than Endeavor. And we've entered the Raikou Calm Mind War. I'm gonna guess that because, yep, Melninjas didn't substitute first, that Azure. Wonder what Jimmy's other power. So we'll see if she has anything to beat Raikou. Regirock's kind of sturdy, but Vaporeon's just going to come in and follow up, and Raikou's at 78. It's going to take like half of that from Surf. Follows up with a Miltank, which took 40% from Surf. That's not your standard Miltank, I don't think. Or it's just very offensive Vaporeon, probably. Dragonite Heal Bell's 1 paralysis and then gets a crit para, full para on the Thunderbolt. Classic Melninja, classic Melninja. Like, at least Miltank has Heal Bell, so it's not that disastrous. But yeah, Miltank, again, kind of a wall that not a lot of Pokemon want to have to get through, but Calm Mind Espeon spends all of its health to get it down for Raikou range. 2 spikes up means that Regirock's gonna maybe fall into this Thunderbolt. Melninja decides not to do that. Switches in Dragonite. Doubles Vaporeon. Probably, I don't know, maybe just wanted some extra chip on Dragonite. Freezes the Regirock. Wow, that... As you saw in the chat, UUBL moment. True UUBL moment coming soon. But it's just so funny seeing Melninja's luck. Like every tournament match is like he has all the luck on his side, and then like it's still kind of back and forth. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of mean to say, but it's always entertaining watching his matches. Alright, so that's Melninja takes all 3 games. We're gonna go on to the next set, which is JoaF versus Bydy. We'll see what goes on here. Hariyama versus Omostar, doubles to Dragon Knight. Hariyama lead is kind of tricky because it always just, you know, I don't feel like there is a good lead against Hariyama unless you lead a Psychic type, which is not typically great against very much else unless you have like supreme coverage options on it. Like if it's just Trick Alakazam or Calm Mind Espeon, there's not a lot of super good matchups for it. Like a Psychic type is probably just as good in the back as it is in the lead, and Hariyama is good into almost everything else. So I really like Hariyama lead just in general in UUBL. Bydy spends Dragon Knight pretty fast there to get rid of Registeel, even though he has a Blaziken. What else was he using that on? So JoaF sends in the Raikou. It's got up the sub. We'll see how much it does to Steelix. It's going to be like 20 maybe, depending on the in power. 27. Roar to be expected. Bydy has Blastoise as his spinner. Blastoise is kind of like a wild card. Yawn Focus Punch. That's a pretty good moveset there. Yawn Focus Punch, Rapid Spin Surf, I guess. Unless he has a second spinner in the back, that could be interesting. I've never seen Blastoise used as not a spinner. So we'll see what goes on there, because that's a really interesting moveset, Focus Punch Surf. I guess Bydy does have almost hard to pick up the water coverage with like Ice Beam and all that. Getting Blaziken paralyzed is kind of doomed for Blaziken. There's been some talks about, I say some talks as if it's not just one person, but Celdanami's been talking about Reversal Flail and ban for a while. And Blaziken in that meta is nuts. Like I did some test games with him and someone else, and like Reversal Blaziken would probably be like #1 Pokemon if not banned from the UUBL if Reversal Flail were still around. Like there's ways to adapt to it, but it's just such a weird Pokemon to try to get around in this tier. So if anyone's wondering, that's why at least Reversal is banned, and then I think Flail just got lumped in there. But so state of the game right now, I don't think JoaF has a way through this Steelix, especially if Steelix has Rest or Protect, which probably does. It'd be really weird if it didn't have those. I'm guessing it's been Toxic here? No, just Earthquake. Even though Chansey can just Soft Boiled. Oh, Chansey doesn't have Soft Boiled. Interesting. Usually Wish Chansey also just carries Soft Boiled just because getting 100% heal can like just neutralize a lot of Pokemon as you're waiting for like paralysis turns or whatever. It's pretty rare to see Wish without. Well, I guess it does have Wish Protect, that's fine. But as we see, that kind of doomed the team from this perspective. JoaF just trying to sack everything, get Registeel in last, set up the curses, but it's gonna be crit beta against this Steelix because, I mean, Registeel almost certainly has Earthquake, but I mean, Steelix has 200 defense, so. Oh, Body Slam. Maybe it doesn't have Earthquake. We're gonna fast forward through the rest turns. Oh, but Steelix crits it on the last turn, so I guess we'll never know. Registeel Sleep Talk Body Slam. And that's all we saw. So Don't know what Bydy had in the back. This is a pretty classic Bydy team, by the way. Very indicative of his team building style. So here we are in game 2. JoaF leading Hariyama again. Cross JoaF lands on almost ours. Over half. Correctly guesses knockoff. Knocking off dust claps is pretty good. Usually Hariyama's thick fat. We'll see if this one's guts. Probably yes. I don't know Hariyama rock slide versus tentacle calcs, but that was a lot of damage, so I'm gonna guess it's guts. So Bydy kind of on the back foot here. Oh yeah, it's definitely guts after that. So JoaF wisely preserving that against Tentacle, but weirdly goes into Dragonite, especially when he has Slowbro. I don't know what. Yeah, in chat he says, I don't know why I just sacked that. Fun games all around so far. I always love UUBL, especially because like some of these really good players, like the ones you're seeing here, just always interesting to see their team building style and stuff like that. Again, Bydy with Spike Spin, both water types with a Steelix. Classic Bydy architecture. We'll see if JoaF has a Wish Anywhere for Hariyama. If I recall correctly, I don't think JoaF usually carries Wish. That last game was a weird Chansey set, kind of, but we'll see if he has it here to keep this Hariyama up, because Hariyama looks like it's going to be a big deal against everything but Dragonite. But JoaF just says, gotta go, sorry, after Bydy protects an explosion, so I guess we won't know how that game ended, but that's just a schedule forfeit, I guess. So who's the next match? We've got Chungler versus the Dance of the Dead. Dance of the Dead is pretty new. Chungler is not. Definitely one of the strongest like ADV players in general, so we'll see how this goes, but I think I already have a suspicion of how it's going to go. Taunt Umbreon. Oh, I think I actually did watch part of this replay, and this is actually a really interesting team. Lead Umbreon, totally unusual. Like against that like all-around good, just like fighting around type lead, I don't know how well it would do, but there's a lot of special leads in UUBL, and we'll see how this Umbreon is getting around all this. You see it setting up a ton of curses with Taunt, so we're gonna see, like, it's so telegraphed that it's gonna baton pass into a wider. But we'll see what Pokemon receives that, because it's getting up to +6 basically. Oh, that critical hit on Surf. We'll see if... Oh no, that doesn't matter, unless he gets another one. And actually it has Moonlight Umbreon instead of Wish. You would think that, like, with Baton Pass you might want to use Wish, but no, this Umbreon actually just has Moonlight because obviously with quarter speed it's going to be the one taking the hit, so it needs the health, not the ally. Against the Dead probably could have used Taunt on that turn, but passes it to Cradily to lock in all of those boosts as Lunatone sets up its own attacks. Amnesia is going to help it against this Lunatone or wherever the Lunatone is going to pass to. As Chungler just goes for Hypnosis to, I guess, just go max with Lunatone, why not? Has a sub. Really strong sub too. Cradily needs a physical attack, which, I mean, it definitely has. It has Amnesia, not like Calm Mind or anything. In Power Rock, but just goes right back to sleep. Sceptile in with max special attack is gonna do a pretty big chunk, I guess. Endeavor, just because Leaf Blade can crit through all of Cradely's boosts, but Endeavor gets it most of the way there anyways. I'm gonna guess Sceptile just keeps going for Sup. No? Okay. Yeah. Crobat comes in. That's what I was expecting the Wider to go to. But Umbreon is at almost full health, yeah, as we see. So it can, depending on how Chungler plays this, Umbreon might just be able to get back up to +6, and then passed a Whiter Crobat. The unfortunate thing about Crobat is it's still not good even at +6. Like, it misses out. It misses, like, just barely the KO on so many Pokemon. We'll see here, it's not at +6, but +2 Hidden Power, still only doing a third to Sceptile. Which means, I mean, obviously it wouldn't normally click Hidden Power against Sceptile, it'd just be Sludge Bombing. Tauros comes in. So you see Cradily, Crobat, Registeel, Tauros, all of these can be curse recipients, so the team absolutely hinges on Umbreon. We'll see how Dance of the Dead wants to play this, whereas Dracopope is hinging almost the whole team on Lunatone. And actually Dance of the Dead has Haze Wheezing. Unfortunate against Lunatone, just because Lunatone is special. But it would be able to get rid of counter curses and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, misses the KO on Explosion there after a critical hit Ice Beam. Probably a good use of Wheezing though. Like, maybe they could have Pain Split, but if they have Explosion, maybe it doesn't have Pain Split. Probably not, in fact. But yeah, it's CM Pass versus Curse Pass. With Umbreon as the Curse Passer, it's been more even than it looks. Like, there have been a couple of misplays, like going Cradily first was probably not the best solution when there's a Sceptile there. I mean, you had +6, you might as well just try for Tauros or Crobat, especially Crobat because it has the speed over Raikou, which this tournament, by the way, is allowing Raikou. In case that wasn't obvious, along with all the other OU by Tech Pokemon. Haven't seen Porygon, don't think we've seen Regice, but mostly the tour is just another Raikou tour. So we see double Swellow lead now. I think that's interesting. Obviously it's return sub pass endeavor. I don't know what Chungler said is, probably the same thing though. Chungler has also revealed 4 Pokemon as opposed to 2, and the only damage that's been done is Spike's damage and Swellow's own substitute. Dance of the Dead just trying to sack Smeargle there, interesting. Oh, provides a turn for Scizor to set up the Swords Dance so that it can Oko Smeargle. Unfortunately, Smeargle is just passing that speed into Dragonite, and I think Dragonite at +3/+1 is just gonna bowl over everything, especially behind a sub. Miltank, yeah, doesn't break the sub. I think this one's gonna be over basically just like that. So what happened in this game? It was just Scizor Swords Dance, and then there's no Roar. Dance of the Dead brought Mono Normal. That's what happened. Is he's been kind of pushing the Mono Normal. He's been playing it in OU, playing it in UUBL, and so kind of a bad team to load that into, especially Scizor. But not having Roar is kind of, or like any sort of stat removal, is kind of disastrous in UUBL, because it just ends up like this, where, you know, it's 100%, 100%, 100%, 82 because of spikes and sub, 88 because of spikes, and then 100. Like, there's almost no damage out on this side, as Chungler just set up at Dragonite to 6-0. So hopefully these are in order. This is Celdanami versus ScallyWagon. Celdanami leads with Jinx. Uncommon, but you kind of basically know what it's gonna do. It's Sub, Calm Mind, Psychic, or Ice Beam, and then Lovely Kiss usually. Could also be Mean Look Perish Song, but it kind of is hard to get Mean Look Perish Song off in UUBL because, like I said, like every team basically needs Roar. ScallyWagon leading Roselia is interesting because Roselia is like weird on paper because it can take almost any hit. Like that, it was Rock Slide from Regirock, you know, into like 50-50 defenses, and still did like 70%. But something that I don't think a lot of people know about Roselia is its special attack is 100. That is pretty massive, and so it can just heal that back off with like Giga Drain against Regirock if it has it, I guess. We'll see what it ends up having, but it might just be aromatherapy. Roselia is definitely an interesting spiker. There's a lot of different things it can do compared to the other spikers. The roll compression of spikes in Aroma is only available on Smeargle otherwise. Celdanami's complaining about Toxtect, and then this is probably Wisp Wheezing. Blastoise might be toxic as well. We'll see what it has, but Articuno, Toxic, another common move on that. But we'll see what any of these Pokemon have to do against Umbreon. Because this is sort of the opposite version of Umbreon. It's neat that we get to see both sides of Umbreon in this tournament because, like in the other game, it just is totally unable to do anything, but against this team, Umbreon actually looks pretty okay as long as it has an offensive move, or I guess it's going to be set up with Baton Pass, but like what's the counter Umbreon here? And then Endeavor Swallow behind a sub. Pretty scary. Not sure how it managed. Oh, because it was in against Roselia, so Roselia probably couldn't break this up. And then Regirock, I'm just going to spam Focus Punch at this point, I think. Yeah, Hidden Power Grass. I do think Giga Drain is better on Roselia than Hidden Power for coverage if you have the space for it. You probably don't. Roselia usually wants rest, but we'll see. Like, usually you'd only be able to rest with Paraspam in the back, but ScallyWagon has the damaging status moves, so we'll see what... like, Roselia probably wasn't going to last very long with Power Grass. It is funny that Celdanami complains about Toxtech, but brings toxic up around anyways. And yeah, Jinx's CM Ice Beam. Houndoom, unfortunately, being such a good Pokemon in the tier is unfortunate for Jinx. Otherwise, Jinx might be pretty good. So here we do see Raikou and Regice with Regirock, Swallow. Swallow in the back is actually pretty interesting. There's no reason it needs to be in the lead, other than just convenience. And so this team is pretty interesting, actually. If it weren't for Umbreon losing to Registeel, which this team doesn't seem to have much for, like if you have a Swallow switch in, then Registeel just kind of wrecks this team. I guess Umbreon could, well, it depends on if it has set up. I don't know if it has an offensive move or set up here. Might just be Protect. Oh, Articuno is sleeping. How did that happen? Oh, the Lovely Kiss first turn. That's unfortunate to get one of your Shield Bellers sleeping, especially when you had Blastoise with Surf and Chansey and Houndoom. It's probably Flash Fire Houndoom based on the rest of this team, you know, Weezing, Roselia, Articuno. But with Blastoise, Chansey, you probably could have ran Early Bird. I don't know, maybe it is, but Houndoom would be such an easy Jinx switch in, especially because you had Roselia in the lead. But, to share, like, not every obvious play is always good. Maybe Jinx is going to switch out, or something substitute with, like, Lovely Kiss into Ice Beam Freeze, I don't know. So I think this is going to go Celdanami's way, just because Chansey is going to have to take a lot of returns, and yeah, has Wish Tech. We'll see how this works. Chansey could just Toxic. Nope. Celdanami just set up the substitute, which means it's basically over for Chansey at this point. Only has so many endeavors though, and Chansey can just stall out. I mean, you can't stall out return, but you can catch all the endeavors and like eventually break this up, because return's only doing 40 out of, what is that, 62? So yeah, without the crit, I think ScallyWagon might have won that. But we'll go on to game 2. Smeargle Spore. I'll switch the viewpoint, but yeah, does sleep cycle Houndoom that time. We'll see if this one is Early Bird. Personally, I think Early Bird is the better ability on Houndoom, just because there's a lot more times you're going to run into sleep than a fire move that you can't take, because a lot of teams have Chansey or a bulky water. A lot of the fire type is going to come from Houndoom or Blaziken, so Chansey's not always a great fire type switch in, but a lot of the time you will have a bulky water like Omastar or Vaporeon or Slowbro. Celdanami's team so far is looking pretty slow. We'll see what he has in the back. Like just a slow build-up of chipping and stat balling. Like Calm Mind, Slowbro, Curse, Miltank. Smeargle, Destiny Bonds, but actually Encore's Donphan into Rapid Spin. I don't know why he would have spiked into an Encore Rapid Spin, but probably just predicting a switch to get. But I mean, Donphan is just going to come in against anything because Slowbro's asleep. We'll see what the game plan is here for ScallyWagon, because phasing with spikes up, looks like Celdanami might not be able to make it out of that until like Slowbro or Miltank is left last. But I mean, versus Omastar for Miltank and Houndoom for Slowbro, we'll see how that's going to happen. Slowbro not rest stock, usually isn't. It's just going to get bored out. We'll see what Celdanami has in the back, because there's not a lot that is going to stop Donphan from just roaring a bunch of times. And Weezing is probably going to just haze everything off, so that's mega unfortunate for Celdanami's team style in this game. Unfortunately, Weezing's not going to be doing very much offensively here either. Just going to like paint split up on Silver Rest or Miltank Milk Drink. I'm going to skip a few turns for the sake of time, because Celdanami just says, I don't want to. So that game goes to ScallyWagon. It's on to game 3. Sceptile versus Hariyama. Knock was probably not an ideal play there, just because Sceptile will usually substitute first to either get Substitute or Sub Never going, especially against Hariyama, who's going to possibly miss cross chop or just click knock off like that. This is Sub BB Dragonite, so it's just Hidden Power Earthquake, no Heal Bell. We'll see if Celdanami has a Heal Bell in the back. Also what Weezing's going to do. If it has Haze, it's going to click it here. If it has Hidden Power Ice, it's going to click it here. But Dragonite with no Heal Bell means Jesus is... It means that Weezing is Celdanami said Jesus in the chat. The Weezing is actually, this is one of the few times Weezing is able to take on Dragonite, like, long term, and not just be a total wash for both players. Because usually Dragonite will just be able to heal Bell, and then, like, you know, for Hidden Power Ice, that's Weezing anyways. I like running Hidden Power Ice on my Weezing just because a lot of people leave Dragonite in on Weezing, and they don't expect it to take like 60% after a Will-O-Wisp. Raikou just setting up Calm Minds. We'll see how it gets through this Chansey, especially after being toxic. It's almost definitely rest then, yeah. Chansey's Seismic Toss is going to get stalled out by rest, and it's mono Raikou with Sleep Talk Thunderbolt. I think that it's just over at this point. Yeah, ScallyWagon just says that wins. Which is another case against Raikou generally, is that just with Thunderbolt, it just steamrolls over the whole team, and so you need a ground type specifically, but then you also need, none of the ground types are good against Hidden Power, basically, and so you need a secondary Chansey check, and that's the whole Raikou dilemma, generally. Celdanami says, you've robbed, and ScallyWagon with a bone gun. Good team structures from ScallyWagon, also fairly new to UUBL. Like, you have all the pieces there, it just happened to not be good into Celdanami's Pokemon in each game, except for that game 2 where, you know, Celdanami just had stat balls, but ScallyWagon brought Roar. So here we're looking at Lore versus, or at least that's how I say it in my head, might just be Lori, versus Water Noise, aka John Arbuckle Cart. Garfield Cart, great game, great game. And this is a pretty good demonstration of like just how varied the leads are in UUBL, like Venusaur, Vaporeon. Thinking back to all the other games we've seen so far, the lead is a very complicated web in UUBL, but it doesn't feel totally insane because, like, even if you have an absolutely abysmal lead matchup, you have something in the bag for whatever their lead is, because the leads are all pretty telegraphed in terms of their sets. So John Arbuckle Cart has 3 fire weak Pokemon here, so we might see Houndoom in the back. Unfortunately, Lori has not revealed very much of a Houndoom check apart from Miltank, but or hasn't. Let me rephrase. Has revealed 3 Houndoom checks, so if that is a Houndoom in the back, it's probably just going to be a dead team slot in this game. We'll see, because Scizor has Swords Dance Baton Pass, and Venusaur is also physical. We'll see where that Baton Pass is going. Unfortunately, Venusaur is unable to get these Sleep Powers off. Swellow might have been the Swords Dance recipient. This is, you'll see in a moment, a team that I was trying to do. I wonder where John Arbuckle Cart got this team, because it's very similar to one that I'm about to use in the next set that I'll cover, but the basic concept is Swords Dance Pass to Swallow, get Guts on it, and then, or no, this is Sub Endeavor Swallow. Well, Swallow with Guts and a Swords Dance comes close to OHKOing almost everything in the tier. Unfortunately, Red G-Rock is not one of those Pokemon that can get through. Steelix, I think, is the other one. I think it might be a roll against Registeel. I don't know the calcs off the top of my head, but generally just Guts plus 2 Swallow is like the end. But that's a very specific situation to get into. And with a lot of Swallow's viability for being in the back hinges on Weezing being on the opposing team, but now that Medicham's gone, Weezing is a lot more rare because it just struggles into so many Pokemon like Umbreon, Vaporeon. There's just a lot of stuff that Weezing just can't do. Swallow had Lychee Berry, so that might be the Source Dance recipient. We'll see what WaterWAI has for what's in the back. Yeah, there's the Houndoom. Takes off the Dragonite, but Vaporeon is the only thing left, and we'll see what this last Pokemon is in a second here. Oh, it's another Swords Dance recipient. Interesting. Sizzle unfortunately gets paralyzed on the Marowak sub-turn, so it's over. Whatever this is, can't get through sub-Marowak. I mean, unless it had like Roar or something. So, it's just an interesting team. Compared to, I'll keep this tab open and compare in a moment, but yeah, so WaterWAI has kind of the more classic, what do you call it, Reckless team, because Marowak is the ground type, and Registeel is the other Raikou resist, but this team would work with Reckless, which is WaterWAI played in the Reckless tour, but not here, like with Raikou, and so it looks like a Reckless team with a minor edit to get those two checks in. We'll see what their team looks like in Game 3, along with John Arbocart, Water Without Any Ice. What they've got, Explosion Smeargle, gonna bring Dragonite down into Raikou range. WaterWAI reveals Chansey, Easy Switch. Hariyama, we'll see if Hariyama has Guts. Looks like it, based on Rock Slide. Usually it doesn't have Rock Slide if it doesn't have Guts. At least in my opinion, or what I've seen. Raikou Slowbro, we might see Lunatone in the back. See how many, or no, I guess we won't see Lunatone in the back. Spikes, maybe a Spike blocker, like Will-O-Wisp with special attackers, maybe. Like Will-O-Wisp with Calm Minders, and then a Status Absorber and Hariyama. It's looking like WaterWAI just has a sturdy defensive core here against everything John Arbuckle's had so far. Especially with Donphan, this is a very defensive team. We'll see if John Arbocart has a way through all these stacks here. And yeah, there's the Hinpower Ice Weezing. Like I said, most Dragonites just stay in on Weezing, which is baffling to me, but like it works. Possibly just because you don't want to switch something else into a Sludge Bomb. Hariyama might have been able to make it out, but then it just, oh, what does Hariyama do back, you know? I guess the knock so the Dragonite can 1v1 it without HP Ice, but Weezing did bring it, so no real reason to go Hariyama there. Raikou Sub-CM no rest means that Chansey wins. Steelix in the back, that makes sense. Pretty Raikou weak team without Steelix. But yeah, 6-0 basically is what it looks like it was going to be. Because you can just go Weezing here and then there's not much that can be done at that point. So this is me against Wenderz. Wenderz, basically the best UUBLer ever, always will be. Just trying to bring some fun teams, like I said, 0 stakes tournament. So this is the team that was very similar to John Arbuckle's one. It's a team that was kind of designed by 3 players to be anti-Wenderz, but that was fresh out of Metagam ban, so a lot of this team, like I said, is going to hinge on Will-O-Wisp Weezing hitting the Swallow and then Scizor Swords Pass to it. But with Metagam gone, there's a lot less reasoning, a lot more Steelix. Steelix is kind of had a generational run this tournament because a lot of the Pokemon just have a difficult time getting through Steelix, is what it's looking like. Now the question of why I sacrificed Dragonite when I had Regice versus Slowbro, I don't know. I mean, Slowbro just clicks a move into Regice, Wenderz just goes into Hariyama. I mean, I definitely could have played that better. That was pretty bad. So this team does not have a good fighting check, you'll notice, except for Dragonite. But yeah, the game plan of getting Swallow Burn early or Toxic early just didn't happen. And so this team just crumbles without it. Is this the same team? Like, Raikou's just going to win at this point, so I think I can just skip a few turns ahead. So, yeah, it is the same team. That's funny. I don't know if you saw the replay or just came to that builder. This builds on his own, but I just think that's funny because this is such an unusual team. It has so many weaknesses. It's kind of just a matchup fish against Wenderz specifically while Metachan was around. It's lost 2 out of 2 times that it's brought against Wenderz, which is funny, but I just wanted to bring it, see if I could make it work. So going into game 2, Regice lead. I think Regice lead is probably one of the most disruptive leads because it's just not something that you expect to see, and Regice lead means that it's offensive, or at least not. It's not going to be a defensive check for a lot. I brought Diglett on this team to trap Lantern specifically, and also Registeel. Let's see. No, I didn't go Diglett there, which would have made sense because Registeel revealed Seismic Toss as this thing, but this team is just special offensive Diglett. It's like the OU Dope Trio team with special offense, but there's a lot of roadblocks to special offense in UUBL. A lot of our Pokemon, Lantern, Registeel, because obviously Raikou exerts such a special presence that there's a lot of special checks. Fortuitous Freeze then. We'll see how that plays out in a second. I'm going to try to bring Diglett in, but just switches into Rhydon, and I don't have a good Rhydon check with, because I could go Vaporeon, but Vaporeon was already hurt, and I mean Rhydon just switches out and still at 100%, and you know, or it's just got however much it did after Diglett. I needed to get Vaporeon in there fresh, but I probably should have gone Vaporeon before almost done. But I mean, that one spike is probably going to be a little bit impactful against Registeel, because without Diglett, I just sort of need all I can against Registeel, and not a lot of these Pokemon are going to be set up against like almost Arcane Spike against a lot of these remaining Pokemon except for Registeel, which is the target of the spikes. So yeah, special offense, Alakazam. What happened a couple turns ago? Oh yeah, Raikou and Dragonite both lived on like 6 with super effective moves against each other. That's one reason why this is possibly the first time that I've ever run Timid Raikou. I almost always run Modest just because it gets the Yoko on Dragonite where Timid doesn't. And so if Raikou was still at 100, I'd be sitting pretty here. But it doesn't end up mattering because Alakazam just kind of cooks everything. And so Regice, at this point, Wenderz said that he was kind of between Seismic Toss or Toxic, but because I revealed Substitute, he didn't want to click Toxic, and this is where I reveal counter. Sub counter is like such a bad set, but I don't know, it just got like, this is, I practiced in friendlies a few times with this team, and sub counter seems to catch a lot of people, just because it, like I said, doesn't make any sense, so you don't expect the counter to come out. Regis usually doesn't carry counter at all, but I threw it on there just because I wanted to use counter Regis. The reason why I had it on there in the first place is to get like a lead Tauros or something like that that just wants to click chip into Regis. So, game 3. Let's get this back on first turn. I say in chat this battle has very high potential for disaster for me because I saw Regis lead. And what this team is 4 normal types. It's, somebody said that, like, said some sort of Smeargle set in the Discord, and I misread it as, what do you call it, Memento. And so that's what this team revolves around, is Memento Smeargle, because it just gave me an idea. I crunch with Houndoom first because Pursuit here is so obvious, but Miss for this can usually outlast the first turn Pursuit. I like Lumberry on Houndoom because it just doesn't, I feel like Houndoom doesn't get a ton out of leftovers unless you're running Substitute. I was considering Lumberry on Tauros specifically for Thunderwaves, but unfortunately I had, I think, like Salakberry or Lychee on it. Vaporeon, good size beam. Didn't expect it to Gojira to live, but I think it might have. And so this is kind of the, like, theory crafting in my head. This was the situation that I was worried about the most, is having a clear body Pokemon in against Smeargle, because Smeargle is Spore Sub, Encore, Memento. Because I know that Tauros is going to Toxic, but the Regis are going to come in on Tauros, or at least stay in on Tauros, to catch that Toxic. And Smeargle just has to outlast the Toxic, so I put Substitute on there. But I was between that and Skill Swap, just to take off Clear Body to get Memento off. Because, like, if Smeargle had Skill Swapped Regis, Ice Beam wouldn't be enough to KO Lanoon there. Because I run a little bit more defensive Lanoons as well. Just because I don't feel like it needs the speed. It needs Adamant to KO a lot of Pokemon. And so if you're not running max speed anyways, then Hitmonlee just sort of wins with Knock Punch. And a few other quick attack users anyways. And so I figure if you're using extreme speed, you might as well just go defensive and set the benchmark somewhere where, like, Return will be able to KO all the stuff that lives extreme speed, like Donphan or Regis, things like that. So I lost against Wenderz, but I tried a little bit more experimental teams, special offense with Diglett, 4 normal types. And the reason why I had Dodrio and Tauros on here is just to try and get reveals going for the normal resists, so that I know what Pokemon I have to pick off before Lanoon hits the field. Granted, I don't have a lot going on here to do that, but oh well. So this is Gojira versus Bees. Gojira has been in UUBL for a while, so I will see if there's any archaic structures. As you see, almost Arweezing, pretty old, but we'll see what the rest is. We might see some new innovations here and there. Bees is new, so we'll see what is going on in terms of that. What they bring. It's looking like Gojira has a pretty defensive team. See what the Raikou check is. Probably Donphan, I guess, because you need a spin. Weezing going for... Oh, Raikou revealed Roar, so it doesn't have Substitute, so Will-O-Wisp was pretty safe there, because it lets Chansey now win, because it's not going to have Roar, Calm Mind, and Rest. Goes Own Raikou. at +1 after 3 spikes, yeah, not gonna do very much there. The burn allows Raikou to set up. That's actually really smart, but Raikou has Orc, so so that Raikou setup plan is out. Tauros is in. It looks like there's not going to be a lot of things that can come in on this Tauros. It might just be double edging it down with Omastar there to get a little bit more health off of it to allow Raikou's Thunderbolt in. Oh, switching Raikou into Weezing's Sludge Bomb out of Dragonite. Oh, it revealed rest. Okay. Combine Thunderbolt rest. No Sleep Talk. No, it is Sleep Talk. Okay. Tauros is still playing Double Edge. Yeah, it's gonna hit Vaporeon and KO it. We'll see what is in the back. Dragonite. Oh, Ice Beam. That's another interaction. That's like just barely doesn't get the KO. Is Ice Beam Dragonite versus Ice Beam Dragonite. I think it's for that reason that you always want to run like some special defense on Dragonite, just because Modest Raikou picks up the KO barely. Dragonite Ice Beam, depending on the set, might KO, and so just putting a little bit of special defense in Dragonite saves it from those, and it can reverse the situation with a Dragon Dance or Ice Beam of its own. So Bees wins that one. This is one of the few that went to Game 3. We got Venusaur versus Sceptile. Sceptile does less than 50 to Venusaur, and Venusaur just KOs Sceptile. Houndoom in, I would Pursuit, but that's just me. Get Venusaur basically out of there. Venusaur, Umbreon, Omastar. Raikou didn't slip first against Umbreon, which means Toxic should be pretty free here, and we'll see if this is Rest Raikou. Umbreon's probably going to Wish Protect here. Just goes Ursaring. Probably could have gone Ursaring on the easy Toxic turn. Get Guts going, or maybe I want to preserve health on Ursaring, or just get damage on Umbreon with that Thunderbolt. Ursaring is pretty scary sometimes. Keyword sometimes, because it, like you just saw, Earthquake did 99 to Omastar, which is huge damage for the normal resist, and it looks like it's actually Salac Berry. I was about to say, but it's so slow that it doesn't get a lot of value. We'll see if... I don't think Ursaring outspeeds Raikou at +1. But Dunfan, obviously they think that it is. Takes a lot of health, but KOs are turning back. Again, probably wanted to Pursuit there. Just because with Raikou in the back, you kind of want as much damage on Dunfan as you can. We'll see how Gojira is going to get through this Houndoom. It looks like Umbreon's going to do it pretty handily. Can heal anything back up with Wish, but elects to just stay in with Umbreon. Because, I mean, with Houndoom just spamming Wish, I mean, what are you going to do? Put Flamethrower or Crunch against Umbreon? Probably could have healed up Donphan there. Umbreon has returned. It's like one of 2 moves you can run on Umbreon and not lose to Raikou. Bees actually has Mr. Mime, so we'll see. It's, yeah, Recycle. Substitute once more. Could go, well, I guess you just have to keep going. Return on it to get the damage off, and then go Roar somewhere here. Stays into Return though. Could, nope. Azumarill has Substitute, so Umbreon, it looks, well, it doesn't have enough to Belly Drum actually after the spike. So it looks like Gojira just might have this. Umbreon leaving all these huge power breaks. Probably, I was going to say, could just go Venusaur here, but is opting to just Wish Protect. Oh, didn't protect there. Expecting the Substitute. That would have been a huge momentum change, but Beast kind of predicted that. Donphan does just Quick Roar. Mr. Mime goes down, Azumarill goes down. We'll see what Gojira has for Houndoom. Oh, Donphan just lives. Okay. So yeah, whatever Gojira has in the back is going to be able to take out this Azumarill. I think this might have been kind of a fruitless endeavor anyways, because the only Raikou answers here are Sceptile, which went down turn 1, and Bone Raikou. Because it didn't reveal Sub, I'm not sure if it is Sub or not. But yeah, with Azumarill's, well no, Mr. Mime recycled past Salac Berry to it, and it had its own Salac Berry, so Azumarill would be able to outspeed Raikou. That's actually really smart. Double Salac Berry onto Azumarill. Unfortunately, it didn't work out here. That Umbreon, just again one of those massively polarizing Pokemon that it either puts in all the work or just dies immediately after doing nothing. Alright. Next one, Qwilfish Cacturne. Love me some Cacturne. Unfortunately, not a good stand versus Qwilfish. Cacturne has a lot of interesting moves. A lot of people like using spikes, but I'd be interested in seeing what it does outside of spikes, because, I mean, 115 in its offensive stats is actually a lot bigger than a lot of people think it is. Unfortunately, it just has that problem of low speed. Raikou staying in on Regice means might have Rest, or Heal Bell in the back would also be an easy guess. Dusclops gets Houndoom trapped. We'll see if it has Earthquake. Nope. Gets Pursuit trapped. So Dusclops is basically dead. Miltank comes in though. Steelix. We'll see if Steelix gets paralyzed. No. So Steelix is going to have a lot of value here, it looks like. Probably going into a ground immune soon. Oh no, it's counter Miltank. Another new development here. I haven't seen Miltank with counter yet. Which, very uncommon because, I mean, Curse Milk Drink just kind of sets it up against physical attackers anyways. But a very good thing to catch things off guard, like it enables Miltank to beat that Steelix, which it wouldn't be able to otherwise, because usually Miltank doesn't run Earthquake even though it has the option to. If it has a second attack, a lot of times it's just Shadow Ball. I was going to say Dusclops could just Pain Split here, but it has Rest. And it's just going to get Pursuit trapped every time, and Miltank in, Heal Bell. What's the line here? Counter again. Or Steelix is Toxic again, right? You go... Steelix, again, after Medicham gone, is looking like a better physical wall than Weezing, even if it's Spike weak. Very Vaporeon weak. We'll see how Steelix does the rest of this tournament, because it's double elimination. There's still a lot of games happening. Just because there's so few players, and so few, quote-unquote. We'll see if Qwilfish can get any spikes up. Just trying to explode on Miltank, I guess, but gets double parried, so don't know what the game plan was there. Probably explosion, but unfortunate. Might try and get Dragonite to heal bell it off. Special Dragonite has the room for heal bell, so it's probably that. And especially with Donphan being so chipped, spikes might also be a play for Qwilfish if it can get like a Wish heal bell off, but I don't know if Gojira has room for Wish. But it's actually Choice Band Dragonite. Could still have heal bell, but unlikely with Choice Band Ice Beam. Regice, Raikou, still no substitute revealed. Because Miltank has heal bell, I assume it's just Rest Raikou. Or maybe it's the Forbidden Crunch set. Could also be Toxic, just biding its time against Steelix, not wanting to click Toxic into Regice. Houndoom is gonna Wisp. Solid enough play, but probably could have just gone Steelix immediately there. Yeah, as Archie says, very bold stay in. Hidden Power, Water, or could be Fire. Let's see, because it didn't click Hidden Power on Regice, probably is Water, but could still be Fire. Electric Fire is just a good move in general, or like a good type combination. But it's a Raikou off. We'll see what the last move is pretty shortly here. If it's Roar, if it's Toxic, if it's Crunch. Well, I guess we won't see if it's Crunch. And we won't see if it's Toxic either. So it is Rest. So I'm just gonna skip a few turns ahead just because hop on UUBL, referring to the GIF of just Calm Mind Raikou versus Calm Mind Raikou. Yeah, it's over. That's the thing about like a mid-game Raikou Calm Mind War is one of you comes out on top, nobody knows who it is. Because crits could happen, there's rest, there's pressure, PP stall, there's so many factors to consider. It's basically like, you know, if you commit to Calm Mind War with Raikou, one of you has Roar, or like all players are just betting on a slot machine. I forgot to say in that last set, Sandveil is banned, so that last game would have resulted in disqualification anyways, but Bees, that was Bees, right? Yeah, Bees lost anyways, so not that big of a deal. Sandveil, basically a lot of the RNG is banned in this tournament, but accuracy is not. Maybe we'll see if my scheduled game gets brought today, because I have something absolutely devious planned for that. But for now, we've got FearowGuy versus Jojo. Both new players, like just joined the Discord and then hopped in the tournament on opening week, so we'll see what sets are being brought here. Is Qwilfish desperately trying to catch a Destiny Bond, but Jojo just keeps trying to set up here. Toxic King Hariyama could swing either way. We'll see what Qwilfish tries to do. Another spike. Fake out with bulk up. Now that's interesting. And okay. That's certainly an interaction. Goes Vaporeon instead of Scizor, Baton Pass Scizor against Weezing. We'll see what the rest of the team is looking like here that Vaporeon's is switching to Weezing. Might have a lot of trouble here. Subtile Leftovers interesting. Dragon Claw Thunder Punch. A very unusual Sceptile set, but it's just max coverage. Slow King instead of Slow Bro. Unusual sight, but I think Slow King is pretty good. Just not in Raikou list because, or it would be good in Raikou list, but not with Raikou because, I mean, Slow King has the special check. Raikou just blows through it. Does have Nidoqueen, but after like +1 or 2, Raikou would just blow through Nidoqueen too. We'll see what happens with Fearow because it looks like Drill Peck just might clean KO everything. We'll also see what Aggron can do to Scizor. Nothing, it looks like. But does Baton Pass... Does Scizor just not have an attack? Source Dance, Baton Pass, Substitute. Probably just a bug move then. Usually Scizor runs Hidden Power Ground. The Scizor in my set, and presumably the one that WaterWAI brought, was Hidden Power Ground. But actually Entei is going to take this. How did Aggron not KO Entei? I don't know. Kind of a 50-50 on sub versus Endure, but does Aggron outspeed Entei after Salac? I don't know. Probably not. It depends on the Entei, I guess. Entei's a pretty good fire type. I like it. It needs like one extra turn against Raikou to be able to stand up to it, but otherwise it's a pretty good Calm Minder. Because Chansey can't... Entei has 100 health, so Chansey kind of struggles against it, the substitutes. But because it needs the HP to live Chansey Seismic Toss, it kind of lacks in... Because it also wants to take advantage of its huge speed, but then that leaves not a lot of EVs left for its special attack, which I suppose is fine while you're Calm Minding, but I mean, there's, again, Substitute Calm Mind doesn't leave a whole lot. It's just Fire Move, Hidden Power of your choice. A lot of people choose Electric. I've seen Grass. I like Entei, but it's one of those rare Pokemon that you see. In this case, it did something, but it's 2 new players, so anything could have happened. See what they have in Game 2. It's another Quillfish versus Sceptile, but this time Quillfish does not click Sludge Bomb. Sceptile actually wins this one. We've got Endeavor Aggron versus... Is this leftover Sceptile again? No, it's Pataya, maybe? The Fearow Quick Attack actually did a lot. FearowGuy, obviously bringing Fearow instead of Dodrio, just because it's Fearow. Dodrio, same Pokemon, but with more stats. So this is a very similar team from Jojo. We'll see how Scizor wants to proceed here, with leftovers at such low health. Yeah. The solution to Fearow is Rhydon here. Oh, if Rhydon had clicked if it had Substitute, but it doesn't, it's Choice Band, then it might have been over for FearowGuy on that turn. Also, no Synchronize on Alakazam. Interesting choice. That's crazy that Fearow's Quick Attack did almost the same to Alakazam as it did to Sceptile. Well, I say almost the same, it's not almost the same, but that it didn't KO Alakazam there. Very interesting. I kind of wonder if it's bulky Alakazam to live presumed Fake Out? I don't know. Because Dragonite also has Inner Focus, so I don't know what the plan was for Inner Focus Alakazam there, because I think it's synchronized by default in the builder. And it looks like Actually, I know how this is gonna go, but Jojo definitely had this game. Taunting the Endure, but Aggron just Earthquakes. It was kind of like a 50-50 there. Aggron endures Salac Berries, but again, I don't know if does Aggron have the speed to outspeed Houndoom after Salac? I don't know. But yeah, I was trying to taunt against the Endure so that I could just freely click Flamethrower, but I mean, what if it just clicks Earthquake, then you lose? So that brings us to game 3. Sipdal versus Quillfish again. Quillfish again doesn't have what do you call it? Sludge Bomb. Unknown if this Alakazam has Synchronize because it's also not Lumberry or Leftovers, so possibly Twisted Spoon or Pitaya. Not Pitaya, so it's Twisted Spoon, maybe. Hard to tell, especially with players who just got thrown into the tier, what items are sometimes. But it's looking like the same team as what was brought last game, with a little bit difference on the Sizzle. Probably could have attacked there with Steel Wing, because Nidoqueen doesn't have... Typically Nidoqueen is going to be physical and Nidoking is going to be special. So there wasn't a lot that Scizor would have been afraid of them. If you click Steel in here for like 30% in diagonal, maybe. But this Nidoqueen is special. But Scizor outspeed and KOs with Steel Wing. Hidden Power Bug into Slowking. Fearow can't KO Scizor. Aggron is going to Endure instead of attack on a Swords Dance. Does get the Endure prediction there. Endure fails, Steel Wing KOs, and that's a pretty definitive game there. Return actually instead of Agility. Interesting. Optimal coverage Scizor being brought. Wenderz said in the video, I don't know if which of these videos is going to come out first, but Wenderz said that he's never seen Scizor do anything. Well, here's the replay of Scizor doing something. Gets to max attack and basically KOs the entire team. So this is the last set for the video because all the rest were activity wins or forfeits. It's Azure versus Jerry. Jerry saying it's nice to be back in UUBL. Raikou Vaporeon versus offensive defense. So, of course, Azure is known for stall. We'll see how this stall is going to get through Regice because typically Steelix doesn't have Iron Tail. Maybe it does though. If it does, we'd see it switching here probably because Regice would just Thunderbolt into it. I might consider just going Steelix there anyways, because even if Regice clicks Ice Beam, you could just swap back and forth like into Quillfish to explode or something like that. Like that just did with their Steel type. Leech Seed Venusaur. It's gonna really tank this Scizor. Like, get rid of Scizor's usefulness because it could Sleep Powder, it's up. Just gonna click Leech again, and Paralyzed Regice is gonna allow a sub. Oh, actually, not substitute Venusaur. Interesting. Gonna opt to stay in with Own Regice. Again, I think Steelix could handle this Regice, especially with a Leech Seed on the easy Thunderbolt turns. A lot better than Armaldo can, I think, but of course Armaldo gets a KO there. We got Venusaur, we'll see what its last move is. HP Ice? Nope, it's Leech Seed, so we're going to see this swap to, no, a sack of the Venusaur into Golduck. Golduck just going to try and set Calm Minds up before Raikou can get in, but because they went Vaporeon, maybe they have Roar. Doesn't look like it if they're clicking in Power Electric. Golduck might... Well, it's leftovers. I was gonna say it might be able to... Oh, Raiku's sleeping, that's why. Golduck has this then. Fast offensive Vaporeon, still just fishing for critical hits, doesn't find it. Golduck clicks rest, does it have Sleep Talk? No. So it's gonna afford Raikou a couple of turns to try and wake up, but doesn't find them. And it's over. Golduck, actually, maybe it's not, because plus 6 Ice Beam is doing 40, which means Vaporeon could have stalled it out with Wish Tech, but it's offensive Vaporeon, so it doesn't have Wish. Still just fishing for crits. Never finds it. And Golduck takes it. Rare Golduck. Only 2 people have ever used Golduck, so I think I might know where the idea came from. But we'll go into game 2, see what happens here, switch sides. Omastar accepting Toxic instead of Spikes. Spike's Mirror is fine. If Jerry is trying to get damage on Omastar instead of spiking, which is an interesting play because Chansey can come in and undo, like whatever Omastar was doing there, Chansey could have come in and undone it. The usual path is spikes, just hope they don't have a spinner in the Omastar mirror, or fish for a crit, I guess, just to get their spiker out. Both players have Omastar Chansey, so this is probably going to be a long battle. Toxic, Aromatherapy, Seismic Toss, Soft Boiled, and then this one is Toxic as well, so it's more stally offense, Wish Chansey. We'll see what Jerry's Aromatherapy is, probably Dragonite. I'm gonna try and save some time with these skips here. Omastar surfing as Azure switches back and forth between using Chansey. Chansey against Seismic Toss Tentacle, it's going to be PP stall. The Seismic Toss is here. Weezing, I'm surprised that Azure didn't bring Weezing in on Chansey more, sooner, because Weezing just obliterates Chansey, because Chansey needs to spend like 3 Seismic Tosses, and then Weezing just pain splits and gets it all back, basically. And Chansey can't do much outside of that because it's Toxic instead of Thunder Wave. We've got the Houndoom, Spin Blocker Trip, so Azure definitely has a spinner in the back. Let's see what it is, maybe Blastoise, maybe Armaldo. And then it has to have some sort of breaker, right? Could be defensive Blastoise, could be Donphan actually. With like Curse Ready Steel perhaps. Now as for Jerry, not sure what's in the back for him. Could be anything because it's fairly standard just spike setup. Definitely another Raikou check, so it could be Bone Raikou. Actually that might be Azure's last as well, it's just Raikou. Because Raikou fits pretty easily on stall teams as well, with pressure, rest, and aromatherapy support from Chansey. Stalling up Tentacool. Let's see if Azure has another special wall, or if he just opts to try and absorb as many attacks as possible trying to thaw Chansey. Jerry just goes Weezing, giving up that position. probably would have been better off just spamming Tentacruel, because if Azure had a second special wall in the back that could take a surf, probably would have went there instead of trying to thaw Chansey. But we're going to see Chansey might go down because this Weezing is faster. Chansey 9%, I don't think can take in. Might be able to take this rapid spin, but then can't do anything there. No. Oh, Shedinja as the spike blocker, spin blocker. Interesting team, but unfortunate against Toxic and Will-O-Wisp spam. And yeah, Elastic knock-in. So Tentacruel. Azure probably could have saved Chansey a lot of health by going Shedinja and Tentacruel, and then just doubling back to Houndoom resist like on Houndoom or Omastar. Azure doesn't have Wish on this team, which is interesting for a defensive setup. That Donphan is going to have some problems into double water spike setup. Omastar's trying to trade each other's health. With that spike up, Chansey will live, but not with much. Houndoom probably, I was gonna say could go Tentacruel, but actually made a good pursuit read and left Omastar in. Figure is dead either way, and then as well opt to try and KO Houndoom. Azure admits that that's he says foreshadowing on his part. Admits that like either way Omastar was dead, so might as well just click crunch at that point. Save your Houndoom. But Dragonite was probably going to be able to take this with burned Weezing and Chansey not able to take anything. Because what's the only thing that Chansey might have been able to come in on is Omastar, but you'd have to sacrifice spikes, and Donphan is toxic, so Azure forfeits. Going into the next game. Hariyama lead into Lantern lead. Did Hariyama get a knockoff on? Nope. Probably could have just clicked knockoff. Well, now Lantern is substitute usually, so fair play, but going Raikou into Lantern was... No, yes. Raikou into Lantern is also kind of an odd play, because that gives Lantern a free turn Sod-War attack. We'll see what the game plan is here. Got Wisp, Lantern, Dragonite. Probably going to be lacking spikes, unless it's one of the grasses, but I mean Cacturn's banned, so Roselia, I guess, or Smeargle could be. But Azure's Weezing is going to be pretty tricky to get around for this team. You'd have to go Lantern almost every time. But he has options for Lantern. So we'll see how this plays out. A little bit more square of a matchup again. Quagsire last as like the ultimate Raikou check. But Jared didn't bring Raikou. We'll test the theory that of this team, of Azure's team not doing well against Raikou when it brings anti-Raikou. That Ursaring is gonna put in a lot of chip here, especially with Will-O-Wisp Weezing hanging around. What did it get the burn on? Did it just miss? So. Using sludge bombs, fishing for poison, wisps, predicting the wheezing, Chansey of course, no reason not to click soft boil. And don't have much left to say. Getting kind of worn out by commentary just because it's, what is this video, like an hour, 2 hours? A lot of games to commentate. But I think UUBL is always fun. Lots of variety. Like, no team was, apart from the team that was the exact same, almost. A lot of teams have a lot of different variety in UUBL. It's a wide meta, even with Raikou. We've seen a lot of teams, a lot of leads, a lot of answers. You know, Weezing's not on every team, Steelix isn't on every team, Raikou's not on every team, Dragonite's not on every team. Just a lot of stuff going on. That's what makes UUBL fun. Our Mulder is going to be interesting to see what happens here. Hidden Power Rock. So that seems like an easy Weezing go there. Opts to just knock off to limit its healing ability, and it has rest to heal off all that damage. So this Hariyama, as soon as Dragonite's out, I think Hariyama might be able to take this home. And Jerry's going to actually commit to the Dragonite, KO Armaldo. We'll see if Quagsire can take this. Jerry decides yes. It gets extra value of Dragonite against the Raikou. Not sure what the plan was with Raikou there. Maybe just thought it was slow Dragonite. But I mean, with Quagsire there and relatively full health, well, I guess Chansey couldn't have KO'd it, but I mean, Quagsire was pretty easy go, and then Weezing as well. Well, I'm not the one playing. Could have put head on Chansey, but with that Dragonite in the back, there's just not a lot of room for Azure to make plays here. Really needed that Raikou, but really needed Lantern to be gone for the Raikou, but there's also nothing that Lantern wants to come in on or stay in on. I guess could come in on Armaldo as like a revenge follow-up, but then because Armaldo has Earthquake, doesn't really want to do that, and Jerry has a Weezing with Paint Split, so not a big deal for Jerry to just go Weezing on Armaldo. So that's the kind of issue that Azure run into this game, I think, is needed Raikou in, but versus Lantern, there was just nothing on his team that baited Lantern in to get chip on it. So we're just going to see this play out basically until I guess Jerry could fumble with Dragonite and sack it, and then Hariyama wins, but skip some turns just to speed this along, see what happens. No. Well, Dragonite might have Field Bell. See if it clicks it here. No, against the Weezing, but Jerry trying to get that Dragonite back in. It is healing up with leftovers, but let's see how he responds to this Quagsire with Weezing so low and burned. Maybe Quagsire can take it on. Hariyama and Quagsire can't take the entire rest of this team. It's just going to be a long game trying to figure out how it can get to that state, especially because Registeel's almost certainly rest. And it has the jump on Quag, but actually rests pretty early. Quagsire ups to Haze instead of Earthquake first. I mean, it makes sense, but in that case didn't do anything. Registeel sleeping. Dragonite needs to heal Bell here if it has it. No, Dragon dances. Counter. So we'll see how does. Yeah, Dragonite does have heal Bell. This is quite a puzzle because it could go either way, just because Quagsire. Jerry just needs something to KO Quagsire or Hariyama, but I guess you could Toxic Quagsire, but I mean the other two don't care about Toxic, and I don't know if he has anything that has Toxic. No. So Weezing Spoon gets a lot of health back here unless Jerry goes Weezing there. Opts to Rest. With Rest, Whirlwind Hariyama. So it's got Brick Break. It's gonna have. Okay, so Registeel. The game plan for Jerry now is get Quagsire way down so that Registeel can take it against Weezing and try and live Hariyama maybe. Another option is to try and get Dragonite up healthy enough and strong enough to punch a hole through Quagsire and then sweep from there. Because Weezing only has a certain amount of health, at most half of Registeel's health. Well, I guess not at most, but yeah, at most. Kind of an interesting situation. Letting that Ursaring go is really an issue here, because Ursaring would have been done really well into a lot of this, with how easily Azure was willing to let Armaldo get a chip on it, with Chansey being one. That's another thing about Chansey is like it's really, really good until you get one turn on it where it is down to like 20% or less. Because then all of a sudden it's like, well, it can help the team, but can it? You know? So yeah, Dragonite goes down, then Registeel goes down. Not enough for the rest. Azure does take it after what looked like a pretty bad situation. But that is Azure's kind of MO, is really long games. Figuring out how those work. Rest can serve own power points against Rest Armaldo. Can't clear Armaldo, it's already knocked off, I think. 21% on Brick Break. Probably just trying to keep power points on Hariyama, or keep power points on Weezing so that Armaldo has to struggle against Weezing. Well, actually no, it'd make more sense to go Weezing first and split. Yeah. Probably just waiting for that rest turn to be able to do this. Go back. Hariyama. But Hariyama can't break through Armaldo. I think Jerry's course here is just spam rest until Hariyama can't attack it anymore, but I mean, you can just waste Whirlwinds all the way through rests. Whirlwind and knock. So Jerry really needs Hariyama's Brick Break PP to go down, but Hariyama, like Armaldo's going to struggle either way. I don't think Armaldo has a way of getting through this unless I think that's over then, so I'm just gonna start skipping turns here until we see what happens. Weezing is always just gonna be able to pain split on the rest. Hariyama. Yeah. Harry just admits defeat. GG was a tough one. It's always the risk you run against Azure, is what happens at 100 plus turns, and then game 2, 100 plus turns, and then game 3, 100 plus turns. Good showings all around. I'll catch you guys for round 2. Hopefully we see a lot of games. I hope you had fun. Hopefully this was entertaining enough. I really just talked about the meta, kind of hoping to get some people interested in some UUBL options, kind of have this as a channel, as a repository for interesting UUBL games. If you've made it to this point, thanks for watching. Definitely a long video. I'm gonna try and get some other UUBL content going, particularly resource oriented. My plans for now is to cover the rest of this tour, and then this should get us into LTL, and I'll be able to cover more UUBL matches there, because I assume that UUBL will be in ADV LTL, but there's a chance that the tournament organizers are gonna nitpick OU by technicality Pokemon and then exclude UUBL, or I don't know, something really weird like that. I don't think that's gonna happen, but always a chance. So yeah, thanks for watching.